Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with 25,000 clients worldwide. I've been studying metaphysics for 38 years. And what I want to try and do here on this video is to lift you even a little bit higher in consciousness and awareness than what I did on the previous two videos. And I want to speak to you on this video about the houses of the horoscope and the planets in those houses. So this one is on the planets. Now, in order for you to be able to understand the planets, it's important for me to lift you into a higher state of consciousness. Now, I'm buoyed by the fact that I received a comment on one of my recent videos from a lady who said that your videos are absolutely new and astounding in their revelations, and she said, I'm just so surprised that there's not more hits on your videos because they give a refreshing and a new perspective on astrology. And I wrote back to her and said, yes, it is an indication of the nature of humanity when a baby dancing in a nappy can get 2 million hits in one day, and somebody who's trying to reveal new things about astrology and related subjects, our personal growth and spiritual growth, takes time. But I also explained that I feel as if I'm making these videos for those who are coming into incarnation now and who are going to be in the flower of their service in 20 or 30 years time, and also for those like yourself who are watching this now, who are on the crest of the wave of evolution. But in order to understand things about the planets and what I'm trying to say to you here is I just want to lift you a little bit higher than what I did on the previous video. On the previous couple of videos I did lift you into a revelation that we live within the body of a being whose body of consciousness is the planet and all life forms on the planet. And that in fact all the planets of our solar system are beings of consciousness, self-consciousness, who have been through the human level. And I want to take you a little bit further today in raising your understanding. Now, you know that you can talk to your dog or your cat and you can say, now 1 and 1 is 2. Got it? 2 and 2 is 4. Do you understand? And your cat will just meow and purr, and your dog will look at you with a blank face, probably thinking, when am I going to get my next bone? And so you know that you can't get through to them. It's no good trying to explain these concepts. And just the same as it's no good trying to explain to your 5-year-old child quadratic equations and algebraic equations and calculus and trigonometry. No matter how much you try to explain it to them, they will just say, Daddy, Mummy, you are funny. And they just want to know when they can go out and play. So, I mean, you realise that there's certain things that they have to build up to. And I'm not going to talk with you here on these early videos about the most conceptually incredible concepts to be able to integrate into your understanding, like quantum physics and the holographic nature of reality and concepts like that. Quantum physics was such that even a brilliant mind like Einstein couldn't get it together. He said, I can't handle all this quantum jumping. And he made the famous statement that God does not play dice. And it was all about this unpredictability and chopping and changing from particle function to wave function and wave function to particle function and so forth. He couldn't let it in because his belief patterns wouldn't allow in higher states of consciousness. But what I said to you about the planets being conscious beings, self-conscious beings who've elevated themselves beyond the human level, is something that I want to expand things a little bit more so that you can understand the way that the planets function in our horoscope. And that's by saying something to you conceptually that you can relate to, but we'll never be able to relate to the way that the planets actually function in our horoscope thoroughly, because it's beyond our comprehension. It's like trying to explain to us, if God was trying to explain to us the way that these planets work, then it's just like we're going to be like the 5-year-old child who'll say to God, "You are funny, when can I go out and play?" We don't have the mental equipment to be able to comprehend and relate to the way that these planets work. But conceptually, I can lift you a little bit in this way by saying that I've mentioned in earlier videos that the dense physical, the liquid and the gaseous components of our bodies are not regarded as a principle. The principle is the etheric counterpart of those. In other words, when I say it's not a principle, I mean that it's not something that you can work with or change. You can't change the physical body. You can only change the physical body through working on the etheric body, and that's through right diet and through right exercise and breathing the fresh air and so on and so forth, and right thinking will keep your etheric body in good order, which in turn will work upon the reflection of the etheric body and make it healthy. And so I'm going to now lift you into a higher conceptual understanding by saying to you that, and I have explained to you earlier in a previous video, that we have 7 subplanes in the physical plane. So we have dense, liquid, gaseous, and then we have the 4 levels of ether, each one being more abstract, what you might say. And then we've got 7 levels of emotional energy that make up our emotional body. And then we've got 7 levels of mental energy which make up our mental body. The 4 lower subplanes of that mental plane are our personality, our conscious mind. And the 3 higher are our abstract mind, and they are part of the soul. And the middle part of the soul is the intuition, 7 levels of intuitional energy, and then 7 levels of spiritual will. Now, then there's another plane above that, which is the monadic plane, or the spiritual plane, or the plane of spirit. So the 7 planes of our existence are only the 7 subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. And then there's the cosmic emotional plane that we can't relate to, like Einstein couldn't relate to quantum physics thoroughly. Niels Bohr had a better idea of what it was all about, and so did David Bohm have a better idea of what quantum physics was all about. So what I'm trying to say to you is this, is that there are things that we don't know about God's world, and we can't know from our level of consciousness. We're only the babies in the universe. We're only the first level of self-consciousness. So when I'm going to speak to you now about the nature of the planets and the way that they work, then it's going to make more sense to you now when I say to you that the scientists are correct when they say that the planets can't possibly have impact upon us. And that's true. The physical components of the planets can't have any impact upon us. But the higher aspects of these planets can have impact upon us and do have impact upon us. And that is in the cosmic etheric levels. So the cosmic etheric levels are the world of the soul, the abstract mind, the intuition, the plane of spiritual will, the spiritual planet, the spiritual plane, and the planarity. So this is where they are functioning and having impact upon us. Now, the etheric level is present here in time and space. But the 7 subplanes of our emotional plane are not here. They are here, but they are also everywhere else. There's a concept of time and there's a concept of space in the emotional world, but you can close your eyes and you are immediately polarized in consciousness in the emotional plane. And you can imagine yourself being in New York, and then 10 seconds later imagine yourself being in London, and you are there on the emotional plane. So it doesn't take time to travel to New York in the emotional plane, in your imagination. And it doesn't take time for you to travel to London in your imagination. So in the emotional plane there's the concept of time and there's the concept of space, but it's everywhere, what you might say, and the mental plane is everywhere as well. And these higher planes are everywhere at once. So in other words, when I say to you that you've got the sun in the 5th house of your horoscope, I'm only speaking about a diagram there. I'm only speaking about something that you can relate to. It's put down into a graph which is the 5-year-old child can understand. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 is 4. So this is put down into something that's conceptually possible for you in a diagram. And there's the sun sitting in the 5th house or the 6th house or the 7th house of the horoscope. But from their point of view, from the planetary point of view, the impact that they have is upon us from these higher dimensions, from the cosmic etheric levels, which is the higher mental plane upwards, and the intuitional plane and so forth. That's where they're having their impact upon us by their placement in the houses. And so that's how they impact upon us. So the scientists are correct when they say that the physical planets can't have any impact upon us, but the more abstract aspects of these planets are having their impact upon us, and it doesn't require space and time for these impacts to hit us in our personality vehicles by reflex. So just as our physical body is impacted by the reflex from the etheric level, the 4 subplanes of etheric energy, so too our cosmic physical body, which is our mental body, emotional body, and etheric body, is impacted by reflex action from these higher subplanes, from the cosmic etheric levels. So I know that this is very complex, but it is something that you can relate to. It is something that you can understand. So it will make more sense to you now when I explain to you that the sun has impact when it sits in the 5th house of your horoscope. We're not talking about the physical sun. We're not talking about the house of your horoscope being there on that piece of paper. We're talking about energy, and we're talking about impact of that energy upon you.